She was young, beautiful, and accused of murder.
It was inconceivable. It was a nightmare.
She became the darling of the media.
Former Playboy bunny arrested for murder. That became the focus of every story.
But her celebrity didn't help her in court.
We find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder.
Her sentence? Life imprisonment.
I thought if I spend one more day in here, I will go nuts.
Then a man came along who'd risk everything for love.
That I'm the knight in shining armor and I can save her. Like a Bonnie and Clyde deal.
It didn't end well for Bonnie and Clyde. How would it end for them?
Certainly you had to understand the risk you were about to take. Hi, I'm Paula Zahn, and tonight we're on the case in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was here that a convicted killer became a folk hero in a made-for-the-tabloids case that spanned decades. Now, Lori Bembenek answers the questions everybody wants to know. And you're going to find out how her story has come to a stunning end.
Just after 2 a.m., May 28, 1981, a young boy was startled by an intruder in his bedroom.
Someone was trying to put something around his neck, a rope around his neck. He screamed. The person that was attacking him ran from the room.
Just seconds later, the boy and his younger brother heard a loud bang coming from their mother's bedroom. As the older boy raced to her room, he caught another glimpse of the intruder.
He saw a man with a reddish-brown ponytail, wearing a green jacket and black police shoes, run from the house.
The boy rushed to his mom's side.
He ran into the room and saw his mother laying on her stomach. He started screaming, "Mommy, are you okay?" She was gurgling. She was near death.
Desperate to save his mother, the young boy called for help. Police arrived at the house just minutes later.
The victim, Christine Schultz, was found in bed. She was sort of loosely bound, her hands in front of her, and she had a gag in her mouth, and she was shot in the back.
30-year-old Christine Schultz was pronounced dead at the scene.
The medical examiner determined that the bullet had indeed hit the heart.
It was a shocking crime, and it hit home with the men and women of the Milwaukee Police Department. The victim was the ex-wife of one of their own, Detective Fred Schultz. Fred was devastated when he told the horrifying news to his new wife, 21-year-old Lori Bembenek.
How did you find out Christine had been murdered?
He called me at home. He was crying. And he said, "Lori, Christine's been shot." And I said, "Oh my God." I was half asleep. I said, "Oh my God, what happened?" And then he said she was killed.
Police began a manhunt for the killer, putting out an all-points bulletin based on the young boy's description.
Your husband's two boys saw the intruder the night
Right.
of Christine's murder.
Right.
What did they say?
And the kids were saying it was a man. It was a heavy-set male that growled, and he didn't smell very good. At first, the cops were saying that it was a burglary.
But with no signs of forced entry, detectives decided to look closer to home.
These type of crimes frequently involve people close to the victim, and especially someone like Christine Schultz, who had no blemishes on her conduct or her reputation. She was a decent woman.
When you heard from Fred, and he was convulsively crying that Christine had been killed, you had to know that he would become suspect number one. What was going through your mind?
I didn't know what was going on. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
It was a nightmare for detectives, too. The case involved a colleague. But since Fred Schultz was also the victim's ex-husband, they had to look into his whereabouts the night of the murder.
What was your husband Fred's alibi?
He was on duty.
Fred's story was confirmed by his partner. It looked like an airtight alibi. But investigators were taking no chances. They analyzed Fred's two weapons, a .38 caliber revolver he kept at home and his police department service weapon.
Fred Schultz was working and had his service revolver on and had left his off-duty gun at home.
Police tried to figure out who would have had access to Fred's revolver. It didn't take them long to come up with a suspect. His wife, Lori.
It had been in the apartment she lived in, and she was home alone that night, and she was the only one that would have had access to it the night of the murder.
What were you doing May 28th, 1981?
I was thinking of going out that night with a girlfriend of mine, but she wound up having to work.
You had planned to go out that evening with a friend.
Right,
That didn't pan out.
And I didn't want to push it if she didn't want to go, but we wound up not going. I read for a little while in bed, then I just went to sleep.
She couldn't produce an alibi as to where she might have been at the time of the homicide. She had none.
Lori and Fred had only been married for 5 months. Fred had been sharing custody of his 2 boys with Christine. For a newly divorced couple, the relationship seemed trouble-free. So investigators focused in on Lori and discovered she had easy access into the victim's home.
Fred had kept a spare key in a jewelry box, so they felt like Lori had access to that key, knew that it was there, and used that key to gain access to the house to commit the murder.
Lori Benbenek had access to a gun and the victim's house, but opportunity alone didn't make her a suspect. Then, investigators came up with a motive.
I truly think it's a matter of the money that they had to expend to help support Fred Schultz's ex-wife and 2 children.
They thought, well, here she is, a young, beautiful woman married to a cop who's paying alimony and child support and doesn't have enough money. And they decided that perhaps she had committed the murder because she wanted to live a high and lovely lifestyle.
Could Lori Benbenek really have done it? To investigators, she looked like the perfect suspect. But there was a problem with that theory. The eyewitnesses who had gotten a good look at the killer said it was a man. But then investigators caught a big and very unusual break. Someone in Lori's apartment building reported a plumbing problem. Workers quickly discovered something blocking a waste pipe. A reddish-brown wig.
Lori's tall, and they figured, well, Lori could have put the wig on, jogged from her apartment 2 miles to Christine Schultz's house, committed the murder, and jogged home and thrown the wig down the toilet.
With lightning speed, police built a circumstantial case against Lori Benbenek. But the missing piece of the puzzle was her husband's off-duty revolver. Was it the murder weapon? They took the gun to the crime lab and waited.
Police had to test fire the gun, recover those bullets that he fired for example comparisons, and to sit there and wonder what's going on. That's a long day. It's a very long day.
Would the results clear Lori Benbenek or give police enough to arrest her for murder? Lori Benbenek was now the lead suspect in the shooting death of her husband's ex-wife. Investigators were about to get test results on the key piece of evidence, the gun they believe was the murder weapon. The crime lab's ballistic expert issued his finding about Fred Schultz's gun.
His conclusion was the off-duty gun was the murder weapon.
Why do you think police singled you out as a suspect?
They claimed that I was the only one that had access to the off-duty gun.
You have access, you have time, and you have no alibi.
On June 24, 1981, 21-year-old Lori Benbenek was arrested and charged with first-degree murder.
What was your reaction to your arrest for the murder of Christine?
It was inconceivable. I just said that this has got to be a mistake. What the heck is going on?
I remember when the team brought her in, I said, I want you to be absolutely certain that you understand why you're here. You are charged with the murder of Christine Schultz. And there was no reaction I could detect. No anger, no crying, no twitching. Just a flat stare look, like, so? She stood out because of her lack of reaction. Made one think, this is an awful, awful controlled person or very cold.
The arrest of a detective's wife was big news. As Lori's trial approached, reporters kept digging into her story. They discovered she had once worked at a Playboy club.
Lori had worked for the Playboy Club for less than a month, and that became the main focus of every media story that was in the paper. Former Playboy bunny arrested for murder.
Lori was never a Playboy bunny, but that didn't seem to matter. The story took on a life of its own.
There was a circus surrounding your trial. What was that scrutiny like?
Oh, they got all kinds of stuff goofed up. Like, I was a waitress at the Playboy Club, and by the time the media was done with it, it was like I was a centerfold. I never posed nude or anything like that. Just the more sensationalized, the better.
When the trial began, some of the coverage seemed like it belonged on the fashion pages.
They were concentrating on what color my nail polish was and what I was wearing.
Spectators crammed the courtroom as the state presented its case. Prosecutors said the murder weapon alone proved Lori's guilt, but they said there was plenty of other evidence, like a crime lab report linking blonde hairs from the crime scene to Lori's hairbrush. Prosecutors also focused on the motive for the crime. Some of the most damaging testimony came from Lori's ex-roommate, Judy Zess.
Judy Zess testified that she had heard Lori mention once, if not more, that she would pay to have Christine Schultz blown away.
The prosecution hammered home the idea that Lori Benbenek killed Christine Schultz because she was furious about the alimony Fred had to pay.
Isn't it true that you and Fred did feel financial pressure, and you thought her alimony demands and child support demands were excessive?
No, that was the prosecutor's theory.
They say you deeply resented his ex-wife.
No, it wasn't like that at all. They just needed a motive, and they came up with that.
Lori took the stand in her own defense. For 5 long hours, she challenged every part of the prosecution's case. But reports about her testimony focused on her attitude as much as what she was saying.
Many people described your demeanor on the witness stand as cold. Why were you so emotionless?
I was in fear, I was in shock, I was in denial. It was like you're just wishing you wake up and it was all a bad dream.
You had to understand that that was creating a picture in the mind of jurors of someone who was cold and calculating.
Well, the trial lasts for 2 weeks, and there's a lot of boring testimony that you have to sit through. They have a tendency to call me emotionless, or, you know, that women are supposed to be histrionically sobbing every day.
The defense called Christine Schultz's 12-year-old son to the stand to describe what happened the night he was attacked by the intruder. He heartbreakingly told how his mother died in his arms.
What did Christine's young boy say happened the night of her murder?
He just insisted that it wasn't me. And she had 2 sons, and the little one said the same thing.
They were pretty clear that this murderer was a male and was not Lori Bembenek.
But prosecutors were convinced the evidence stacked up against her.
Well, let me go through some of what the jury heard from the prosecution. They said you were the only one that had access to the murder weapon, which was Fred's off-duty
gun.
revolver. They said there was no signs of forced entry at Christine's home, but you were the only one that had access to a key. Take us back to that time in the courtroom where you're hearing allegation after allegation put forth by the prosecution.
It's like I was in shock. It's like I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Like, you start to think, am I crazy? Or what, what are they doing?
And in addition to that, they had Judy Zest, your dear friend, getting up on the stand and saying you had told her you wanted Christine blown away.
I never said that. And that's not even my jargon. I wouldn't use that kind of language.
Did you ever own a reddish-brown wig?
No.
So why would someone testify that they remember you buying a reddish-brown wig?
She came forward like 2 days before the end of the trial, and before that had said nothing. It was an obvious lie.
The jury had heard 2 weeks of dramatic testimony, and now the fate of Lori Bembenek was in their hands. Coming up, the verdict comes in, and a forbidden romance leads to a shocking development.
There was a power, an allure that this woman has.
Certainly you had to understand the risk you were about to take.
The evidence in the trial of Lori Bembenek had been heard. Now it was up to the members of the jury to decide if she was guilty of murder, and they were having a hard time reaching a verdict.
As a rule, the longer the jury's out, the more problems are happening within the jury as they're coming to a decision. That's a bad one for the prosecution. You get a little nervous.
But finally, after 4 days of deliberations, the jury returned with its verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Laurencia Bembenek, guilty of first-degree murder.
Lori Bembenek, guilty of murdering her husband's ex-wife.
Describe the moment you heard your guilty verdict.
Oh, I went into like a fugue state. I don't remember walking from the defendant's table up to the bench when he said approach the bench.
It is the sentence of this court that you, Laurencia Bembenek, are to serve a term of life imprisonment in the Wisconsin State Prisons with the women's prison at Tachita.
Given the list of what the prosecution alleged, do you understand why the jury convicted you?
Even the judge said it was the most circumstantial case he's ever seen. I don't believe there was sufficient evidence to support a conviction, even if you want to believe they're baloney.
The intense media coverage had turned Lori into a celebrity in Milwaukee, and many of her supporters disagreed with the jury's decision. The verdict triggered an angry debate.
She has not had a fair trial.
The evidence was horrible. It was just plain horrible. I think in plain, ordinary language, it sucked, okay? And that's what I really mean.
I thought it was the correct verdict. I thought the jurors put a very in-depth thought to their decision. To my knowledge, I haven't heard any story of any jury having any doubt as to their decision.
Lori started serving her sentence at Wisconsin's Tachita Correctional Institution, a maximum security prison for women.
I walked around like a zombie. It was pretty bad. That's when all the crying starts, when you're alone.
To make matters even worse for Lori, her husband, who once stood by her, announced he was now convinced of her guilt.
When he turned on you, were you surprised?
He moved to Florida with this like 18-year-old girl, after I was in prison for about 3 months.
Were you devastated that he abandoned you?
It was painful.
From her prison cell, Lori continued to profess her innocence. And then, a shocking development gave her hope that she could prove it in court. After the trial, Judy Zess, the state star witness who testified Lori wanted to have the victim blown away, recanted her testimony.
She admitted that she had said a number of things at the trial that weren't true, that she had been coerced by the police to give testimony against Bembenek.
It looked like a major piece of the state's case had crumbled. And that wasn't all. Lori argued that the jury ignored a critical piece of testimony that proved the gun in her apartment could not have been the murder weapon.
The description of the off-duty gun shortly after the murder, it was dusty, dirty, and had not been recently fired.
Lori believed she had a powerful legal argument, and she submitted 2 appeals to overturn her verdict. Both were denied, ending any hopes for a quick release. The years went by. Then, after almost a decade in prison, she met someone who would change her life forever.
How did you meet Dominic?
I was doing time with his sister.
What do you remember about the day that your eyes caught each other?
Well, he came to visit her. He was in the visiting room. And I just turned and saw this guy and thought he was pretty good looking. Talked to her about it later. She said, Nick wants to write to you. I said, really?
At 34 and fresh off a painful divorce, Dominic Guglielmo was instantly drawn to Lori.
She was a very good-looking woman, beautiful woman. There was a power, an allure that this woman has.
The relationship became pretty passionate over a period of time, didn't it?
It did. There was a lot of passion/lust.
Dominic told me that you held this incredible power over him, that there was, in spite of the no conjugal visit rule at prison, a tremendous passion pulling the 2 of you together.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. I was locked up for a long time.
It became a passionate love affair. But there was one thing Dominic needed to know.
I asked her if she did it, if she actually had murdered Christine Schultz, and she said no. I think I wanted to believe it.
Dominic also wanted to believe that one day they could be together on the outside. They pinned all of their hopes on the 3rd and final appeal.
Her 3rd and last appeal was denied. I went up to visit her, and, she was crying, and she said, I'm never going to get out of here. I'm dead in the water. I said, how are we ever going to get you out of here? And she jumped on that with, really, you'd help me escape? And the next words out of my mouth is, yeah, I'll help you.
A prison break from a maximum security facility? It sounded like an impossible and dangerous idea.
Certainly you had to understand the risk you were about to take. You never stopped to think about the ramifications of aiding and abetting her escaping from prison?
Never thought about the ramifications.
Certainly there had to be something deep down in your soul. A little radar detector thing telling you, I have fallen in love with a convicted murderer.
Right.
And she's asking me to help her escape from prison.
Is there some type of grandiose thinking on my part that I'm the knight in shining armor and I can save her?
It was a desperate decision by a desperate couple. They would risk everything to be together.
I thought if I spend one more day in here, I will go nuts.
Would Lori Bembenek make a break for it? Coming up, A dangerous and daring plan set in motion. How far will they go for love?
I'm scared out of my mind. Sounds like a Bonnie and Clyde deal.
It was a Bonnie and Clyde deal. Lori Benbenek's controversial murder conviction was once front-page news. But after 8 years in prison, her name had faded from the headlines. Lori was feeling hopeless and desperate. Then she fell in love with her cellmate's brother, and the two were about to hatch a daring plan. How calculated was your escape plan?
When you're in a place for 10 years, you know every inch of every, you know which guards go to the kitchen for donuts at midnight. You know everything.
While Lori plotted her escape from the inside, Dominic had a job to do on the outside.
The biggest thing that we needed to do was get the identification.
Dominic's task was to steal birth certificates they could use as fake IDs. Once Dominic had these in place, they set the date for the escape, July 15th, 1990.
What were the plans that went into motion?
In the laundry room, there were these windows. And for some reason, this window was wide open. And so I thought that would be a good way to tell the guard I was taking my laundry down to the laundry room and then going out the window.
As the sun set over the prison, Lori made her move.
It was just a matter of getting up on the wash machine and scooting out there.
Describe to me what you're feeling as you put yourself through the laundry room window.
Oh, very, very scared that somebody would walk in while I was going out, because they'll rat on you in a second.
Lori slipped through the window without being seen, sprinted across an open lawn, and then made her way through a wooded area to a fence topped with barbed wire. Dominic was waiting nearby in a car.
Dominic, what was going through your mind when you're waiting for Lori outside the prison in the getaway car?
I'm scared out of my mind. She knew what color her car was going to be, and I was going to have the lights on it bright. And so she knew it was that car.
As Lori was about to climb the fence, she saw headlights quickly approaching.
And I couldn't be sure it was him. I hid behind some bushes, and it wasn't him.
Lori was terrified something had gone wrong, but breathed a sigh of relief when she saw another car coming down the road. Then she started to scale the 7-foot chain-link fence.
And that's when I tore my leg open on the barbed wire.
Lori was injured, but somehow managed to clear the fence.
I come around, she sees the car, and she stepped out. It stopped for a brief moment. She got in the car, and we're gone.
The first stage of their plan had gone off without a hitch, but Dominic was worried the police wouldn't be far behind.
As you're driving away, fully expecting roadblocks to be put in place, she's patching up her leg where she got ripped apart by barbed wire.
I'm scared out of my mind here. I've got an escaped prisoner, in the front seat of my car. It sounded like a Bonnie and Clyde deal,
It was a Bonnie and Clyde deal.
They were now fugitives from justice. Their plan was to pose as newlyweds and flee the country.
We're going to Canada. We're going to put just married signs all over the vehicle, wedding bells on there. I'm also having in excess of $10,000 cash underneath the seat.
Describe the moment that you crossed the border and what happened.
Holy moly. We pull into the line to cross into the border, and we're telling the Canadian police her purse had just been stolen with all our identification in it, and all we have are our birth certificates.
So you had no passports?
No passports. This is it.
I felt scared. Felt really scared like crazy.
And he comes back and he goes, "How long are you staying in Canada?" And we said 2 weeks. He says, "Enjoy your stay," and handed us back the birth certificates. And we drove through.
Could you believe you pulled it off?
We're elated. As a matter of fact, we get down the road, you know, a mile and two, or, you know, and we have, you know, a little celebration.
The couple, once separated by prison walls, could now be together for the first time.
That must have been quite a celebration.
It was. That's my side of the story, and I'm sticking to it.
Lori and Dominic settled in the small town of Thunder Bay, Ontario, and attempted to live the life of newlyweds.
Did you feel like you were safe at that point?
I don't know that there was ever a safe feeling that either of us had, because every time we went somewhere and looked at the tabloids and seen, oh my God, you know, our faces are all over.
Reports of Lori's daring escape exploded in the media.
The window opens about 8-9 inches, so she squeezed through that, used something, we don't know what, to cut the window screen.
Probably inconceivable that she would have just decided to go over the fence without having some type of a plan or someone meeting her.
Did you come close to blowing your identity?
I'm panicking like crazy.
While Lori was worried about how their escape would play out, there was something about her story that captured the public's imagination. A campaign to support the fugitive, who many believe was not guilty of murder, swept the nation.
Would you like to sign a petition for Lorenzo Bembenic? Thank you.
Where are the T-shirts?
She had become the queen of the outlaws. The newspapers started calling her Bambi, and the longer she evaded authorities, the happier some people seemed to be.
People said, well, if she shows up at my house, I'm not turning her hand. The public sentiment was pretty much really, run, Bambi, run. Go as far and fast as you can.
How surreal was it to look at the magazine stand and see screaming headlines about you? Run, Bambi, run.
And there's a little song, too. Run, Bambi, run. Stupid.
It went well beyond people rooting for someone who had beaten the system. Lori's supporters paid close attention to every development in her case. They questioned the circumstantial evidence, and when the State Star witness recanted her testimony, many said it was further proof that Lori's conviction was a travesty of justice. But in the eyes of the law, Lori Bembenic was still a convicted murderer and a fugitive. Coming up, the secrets of Bambi's life on the run.
I started frantically packing some stuff. I left out the back door and snuck down the alley.
How will it end? Want more on the case? Go to investigationdiscovery.com/Paula Zahn and view more exclusive interviews and behind-the-scenes video. Lori Bembenic and her boyfriend Dominic had been on the lam for 3 months. After crossing the border, they had settled in Canada. Then, one day when Lori was at work, she was approached by a police officer. He asked if she was indeed the infamous fugitive.
Right then and there, my heart stopped. He asked for ID. I talked to him a little bit, and he said, okay, well, I'll tell him you got the wrong girl. And he left.
Lori had no idea why the officer let her go, but she knew she needed to find Dominic and get out of town fast.
She makes the call and says, you know, the jig's up.
I left out the back door and put my hood up on my coat and snuck down the alley and then went around the corner, and that's where he picked me up.
Lori and Dominic raced to their apartment to collect their things.
I started frantically packing some stuff.
Packing clothes and hair dryers, and lo and behold, who walks in the backyard? Royal Canadian Police.
They basically said, are you Lori Bembenic? And I didn't say anything.
But this time, the officers didn't need confirmation. They knew she was indeed the escaped convict. Lori and Dominic's life on the lam was over.
And then we were both taken to Thunder Bay Jail.
News of Lori's capture hit the headlines with lightning speed. Officers at the Canadian prison were shocked by the media frenzy.
They go, who in the hell are you people? The phone won't stop ringing. We got a media tower outside of our jail, and they want interviews. It was a zoo. I said, you have no idea who you just caught. And they didn't.
Lori Benbenek, one of the most famous fugitives since John Dillinger, was once again behind bars. For his role as the accomplice, Dominic was convicted and sentenced to 1 year in prison for aiding and abetting her escape. Their capture not only ended their life on the lam, it also ended their relationship.
After your arrest, was there any point where you sat in your cell and you thought, what the heck have I just done?
I was bitter, I was angry, I was mad, I've grown through a lot of things. You know, how do I feel about Laurencia today? I no longer blame her for what I did.
While Dominic went to jail, Lori was faced with a difficult decision. Fight for refugee status in Canada or go back to Milwaukee and hope to win her freedom in court. While she was on the run, a judicial hearing was initiated in Wisconsin to investigate the handling of her case. If the judge ruled in her favor, it could lead to a new trial. Lori decided to go back to Wisconsin. She was placed in solitary confinement and waited for the results of the hearing. The judge concluded significant mistakes had been made in her case.
The hearing was honest about the fact that there were major problems with how the police had handled the evidence. They opened the door for the next motion, the motion for a new trial.
Lori's motion for a new trial was based on the evidence uncovered during the hearing, including testimony from top forensic pathologists about the murder weapon.
They also had a lot of experts from around the country who said the off-duty gun was not the murder weapon. They had evidence, based upon the muzzle imprint, that the off-duty gun was not compatible with the imprint on the body.
The new findings about the alleged murder weapon raised serious doubts about the state's case. The costs of a new trial, coupled with the possibility of losing, led prosecutors to offer Lori a deal. If she would plead guilty to a lesser charge of second-degree murder, they would release her from prison on time served. Lori agonized over the decision, accept, and she would never be able to clear her name. Refuse, and she would risk a lifetime behind bars.
All rise, please.
In the end, she took the deal, which included a provision that she would never be able to challenge the verdict ever again.
Let's talk about that deal. Why did you take the plea bargain?
I just gave up. Anybody in their right mind would have done the same thing.
But a lot of people felt that in pleading no contest to second-degree murder, that you were actually admitting your guilt.
Well, they can think what they want, but I had to get out of there some way. And they weren't about to give me a new trial, and it was just, time was just going on and on and on.
In December of 1992, 10 years after her conviction and 2 years after her capture, Lori Benbenek was released from prison.
Describe what some of the first moments were like being a free woman.
It was just incredible. It was kind of one press conference after another.
I have been in solitary confinement for 7 months, so this is all very overwhelming for me. There were several issues that I had to take into consideration, and my biggest fear, my parents are very old, and if I didn't do what I did yesterday, we could have litigated for another 3 years. And the day that I got out and I hugged my dad, one of the first things he said is that he's so glad he's still alive to see me free.
In the eyes of the law, Lori was still responsible for the murder of Christine Schultz. And despite her plea agreement, she continued her struggle to clear her name. In the years since her trial, DNA testing had become the gold standard of forensic evidence. Lori believed DNA evidence could give her another chance to prove her case. She provided DNA samples for testing against the crime scene evidence.
The DNA items that were tested show that there was no DNA of Lori Bembenek anywhere. What you did find was male DNA on some of the bed sheets, and significantly what has been positively identified is male DNA in the sexual assault specimens retrieved from the victim. That's very significant.
It wasn't my DNA.
This was big news, but Lori kept pushing. She wanted to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the gun prosecutors said she had access to couldn't have been the murder weapon.
The key piece of evidence that resulted in her conviction was a ballistics match between the murder bullet and an off-duty gun. We have had new ballistics testing, which conclusively establishes there is no ballistics match with that off-duty gun.
We thought it was compelling enough to overturn the conviction.
Despite her agreement to never again contest the verdict, in 2008, Lori brought her case before the United States Supreme Court, hoping the new DNA and ballistics evidence would override her plea bargain and overturn her conviction.
Unfortunately, our appeal was denied.
To this day, Lori's conviction stands. Even in light of all the new evidence, those who investigated Lori are still convinced she committed the crime.
I have no doubt in my mind, my personal opinion, that she's guilty. And I have no doubts about that. Indications are that for all these years that no juror has ever changed their mind either.
Did you murder Christine Schultz?
No, I did not.
Did you have anything to do with the planning of the murder?
No.
As a convicted murderer, Lori has struggled to find work. She can't vote or even get a passport. In some ways, she says she still feels like she's a prisoner.
You have been battling for 30 years now to clear your name.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that day will ever come?
I know that's what my dad wanted before he died.
It's what Lori always wanted too, and she continued battling even as her health started to fail. Her final effort was to ask for a pardon from the governor of Wisconsin. But before a ruling could be made, Lori Bembenek died of liver failure. Her life ended with many questions unanswered and many hopes unfulfilled.
Lori Bembenek's fight to clear her name continued to the end. She died on November 20th, 2010. Her attorney has pledged to carry on the effort in her name, saying Lori's death should not be an obstacle to a full pardon. I'm Paula Zahn. Join us next time when we're back on the case.
He grew up with his father in a house of horrors.
I was a slave, raised like a dog.
A young boy forced to witness drugs, sex, and his father's unspeakable brutality.
He started hitting her. Her face was covered in blood.
He basically popped her eye out of the socket.
But no one dared to speak out against him.
I find it extraordinary that one man could have power over so many people.
You ever heard of Charlie Manson?
An investigation uncovered cruel stories of women held prisoner.
She was kept in this dump like an animal.
What did his son really know? What did he really do?
Was it sinking in on any level at all that you were an accomplice to murder? Hi, I'm Paula Zahn, and tonight we're on the case in the sleepy coastal town of Eureka, California. For 22 years, the disappearance of a young woman named Sandy Turpin remained a mystery. But then, an unlikely eyewitness came forward with a story so dark that even hardened detectives had trouble believing it.
Sandy was a sweet, innocent girl who loved her mom, who was good to all her friends. Anybody she encountered, she did so with a good heart and good soul.
Tess Moore had fond memories of her friend Sandy Turpin. She says she was vivacious, fun, and attractive. Someone who had broken many hearts searching for Mr. Right.
She was committed to any kind of relationship she had, but they were short-lived. She, like any young girl, is looking for the knight in shining armor.
She was committed to her friends and family as well. So when Sandy's mother didn't hear from her for several weeks, it was obvious something was terribly wrong. She filed a missing persons report.
There wasn't a day that didn't go by that she didn't call her mom. Mom, I'm here. That's when I knew the red flag went up.
At the time of her disappearance, Sandy was just 24 years old. Tess feared the worst. She believed Sandy was involved in an abusive relationship and had even seen physical signs of that.
Both her eyes, all the way around, were completely black. It's like, what happened? Did you get in an accident?
Her friends all thought her injury had something to do with the man she had been seeing, who went by the name of Blue.
I said, why don't you tell me you're not going to hang out with him no more? And she said, okay.
It turned out to be an empty promise. Not long after that conversation, Sandy eloped and married Blue. Tess was convinced he had something to do with her disappearance. She tracked him down and confronted him.
I said, well, last I heard, you'd taken her off the organ and married her. And I said, nobody's seen her afterwards. So what happened to her? And he says, she left. And I go, no, she didn't leave. Where is she? And he says, I don't know. And everybody keeps asking me, and I'm telling you, she ran off.
Police also questioned Blue, and he offered a bizarre theory that Sandy had been kidnapped by members of a satanic cult. He said they even left behind a frightening drawing. Was it a sinister message about what they'd done to her? Police didn't think so. In fact, they didn't think they could rely on anything Blue was saying.
When you have the husband making nonsense type statements to investigators, it makes it difficult to determine whether he was the last person to see her or not. Case went cold because there were no further leads that could be followed up with. He had no body. We had no information to indicate that there was any foul play at that time, other than the fact she was missing.
Sandy's friends felt foul play was the only thing that could explain why no one had heard from her.
She would find a way to somehow let the family know that she was okay. And when that didn't happen, I knew. I'm sorry.
It was a strange coincidence. After going cold almost 2 decades earlier, Officer Mary Anderson had started to take a fresh look at Sandy's case.
Sandy's case was the oldest case that was in the drawer. And so I started reading it and found that a lot of the people that were a part of her life back then had died. So it became harder and harder to find someone to interview or talk and you know, just search for more people that might have some clues as to what happened to her.
But now Tess's unexpected visit gave police a glimmer of hope.
She told me about the abusive relationship in the black eye incident.
Officer Anderson went back to Sandy's file and found a statement from a local fisherman named Ernie Christie, another man who had been seen with Sandy just weeks before she was reported missing.
Ernie Christie was interviewed by one of our detectives at the time. He pretty much said that the last time he'd seen her had been in March, and that she had married, and that he believed that she was living up in Oregon.
Officer Anderson found out that Ernie Christie had died in 2006. The case went cold again. But 1 year later, there was another strange coincidence. A message about Sandy came into the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office. It was from a Sam Christie, Ernie Christie's son. It was a moment Detective Stephen Quinnell will never forget.
What do you remember about the first interaction that you and Sam had? How did you come into each other's life?
Sam had actually phoned the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office and had left a message that he had information regarding a missing person that had been reported missing 22 years ago, that being Sandy Turpin.
But Detective Quinnell was suspicious about why Sam had called after all these years and what his own role in the story was.
Am I dealing with a suspect or a witness?
With the conversation being recorded, Detective Quinnell started questioning Sam about Sandy.
Now, how long had you known this Sandy Turpin?
My dad had met her, and then they became romantic, and she lived with us for, probably about a month or so before he started beating her up.
Sam Christie was about to blow Sandy Turpin's decades-old cold case wide open. And the story would have police wondering whether he was a victim or a criminal. Sandy Turpin had been missing for 22 years, but now a phone call, which seemed to come out of nowhere, was about to change that. Sam Christie told investigators that he knew what had happened to Sandy, but no one could have imagined the story he was about to share. It had taken Sam years to muster the courage to come forward and tell police what he knew.
What happened in your personal life that triggered your call to Detective Quinnell?
I had put all this out of my mind for years. It wasn't until I was almost 30 and had moved across the country that I started to have nightmares and started to remember things. My dad died in 2006, and it took me a few years to get to the place where I could do more than just talk about it with a counselor, where I could go public.
It was a critical moment for Sam. He says he had struggled his entire life to overcome a history of unspeakable abuse at the hands of his own father.
My dad's philosophy was that children were to be seen and not heard. And I remember one occasion, I remember him opening the door to the oven and pulling me out, letting me out of the oven when I was very young, probably 3 or 4.
He had put you in the oven?
Yeah, and he said that if I talked again when I wasn't being spoken to, he would turn it on.
According to Sam, the abuse was extreme and unending. He says daily beatings, mental torture, and terror became his constant companion.
He absolutely terrorized me. From an early age, I learned that the last thing I wanted to do was feel that terror, to be afraid of what he might do. And I did everything I could to keep him from being angry at me, avoid feeling like I did when I was 3 in the oven.
Even if it's not by walls or chains, psychologically he felt like a prisoner, that he was under total control of his father.
At times, Sam's mother could deflect Ernie's rage, but at the age of 5, he would lose that protection.
I was with my grandmother listening to a radio report about a boat that had sunk with 2 people on board, and they gave the name of the boat, the Fame L, and they said that there was 1 survivor.
The Fame L was Ernie Christie's boat. Sam was driven to a Coast Guard station, not knowing which of his parents had died in the accident.
I was, even at 5, hoping that it was my dad that had drowned and that my mom had survived. So my heart sank a lot when I saw him.
The official ruling was that Sam's mother was lost at sea. And after she was gone, Sam had to face his worst fear, life alone with his father.
I was in a horrific situation. I was a slave. I was raised like a dog. I didn't get choices like other kids get choices.
It would take decades, but Sam was finally able to face his demons. And now he was ready to make a choice on his own. He would tell police everything he knew about Sandy Turpin and everything else that happened under his father's roof.
In order to survive, he did what his father told him to do. It's terrifying for people to talk about their experiences. It's quite remarkable that he was able to come forward.
Take us back to that moment when you decided you were going to make the call.
I came to a point where it was just too much to carry the secret anymore. And it didn't matter to me how things turned out. I just needed to be free.
The whole story was horrifying. A depraved account of drugs, sex, and violence.
He had described how his dad would go and pick up girls on the streets and offer them methamphetamine and would get them to go to his home and then have his way with them. And part of that would be he got enjoyment out of just beating the hell out of them. They were so afraid of him that he would keep them for a little while and then he would just let them go, knowing that they would never report the crime.
Sam then told Quinnell about a woman named Patty who bought and used drugs with Ernie Christie, including methamphetamines. Sam says Ernie brought her home one night and soon became angry and suspicious of her.
And he had shot up and had a problem with his vein and became convinced while he was under the influence of the meth that she had sold him poison to try to kill him. He beat her up and was trying to get a confession out of her, get her to tell him who was involved in this plot to sell him poison and kill him.
And you watched all of this?
No, I didn't watch it.
You heard it?
I heard it. I was, he sent me into my room and he went into his bedroom with her and I just tried to go to sleep.
Sam says the next day, Patty was still at the house and his father had a plan to cover up his actions.
He had decided the next day that he couldn't let her go, that if he let her go, she would go to the police and they would see the bruises. So he was going to keep her at the house until she healed.
What did Sam share with you about the conditions under which Patty was held by his father?
That she was just kept in this dump, as he described, like an animal.
After about 2 weeks of captivity, Patty was able to make an escape attempt.
Heard a noise in the bushes, and there was Patty. She had dug her way out under the stump.
She was actually digging her way out from the roots of the tree?
She had to burrow, basically, underground to get out. And we were standing there, facing each other.
Sam, who was 15 at the time, says he was terrified and didn't know what to do, but was certain there were no good options.
If she runs and he sees, he'll shoot her. And if he sees me, let her get away, he'll shoot me. And if I run with her, he'll hunt us down. I called out to him and made out as though I had caught her. He seemed relieved that I had called him. And he let her go. He let Patty go like a week after that.
Sam's descriptions were so bizarre and so disturbing, they seemed hard to believe. And even though Detective Quinnell learned that Patty had already died, he still tried to confirm the story.
She never reported any of that to law enforcement. But I was able to contact other people that she knew that said it happened.
So she did tell friends?
Yes.
What Ernie Christie had done to her?
Yes.
And they never went to police either?
Because they were afraid of repercussions from Ernie.
So you had this code of silence that made a complete web around Ernie Christie?
Correct.
Using satellite pictures of the property, Sam was able to pinpoint the exact location of the stump on maps. He mailed them to Detective Quinnell.
By utilizing the maps that Sam had drawn, we were able to find the stump.
They had to chainsaw their way into the tree. Inside the enormous redwood was evidence that Sam had been telling the truth.
And inside the stump, we had located the old tattered clothing, female clothing, along with plastic water jugs and a hypodermic syringe with a needle attached to the end of it.
What was your reaction when you looked inside?
It's unbelievable, but obviously it happened. How could one human being treat another human being in this way?
Patty's cruel captivity was just one chapter in a long and gruesome story. Now, Sam Christie was about to reveal the secret behind the disappearance of Sandy Turpin. Coming up, more secrets from the bizarre and violent world of Ernie Christie.
I find it extraordinary that one man could have that sense of power over so many people.
You ever heard of Charlie Manson?
I have.
There you go.
Sam Christie had told authorities about his father's history of violence, and they found evidence of it in the stump of a hollowed-out redwood tree. Now police wanted to know what else Sam knew about his dad and Sandy Turpin's sudden disappearance.
Ernie Christie was no stranger to law enforcement in Eureka. He was a local fisherman. His family owned a lot of property in town, and he had a lengthy rap sheet.
When I used to work patrol, I knew what type of an individual he was. And
what was he like?
Wild, unpredictable, had a history of violence.
Most of his violence was directed towards women or people weaker than him. He's a bully.
Ron Prose first came into contact with Ernie in 1978 when he arrested him for randomly shooting into homes.
It was like a shooting spree. When he drove around town indiscriminately shooting up houses of people that he didn't like from a moving car.
Ernie would spend 3 years in jail for that crime. 10-year-old Sam moved in with his grandparents.
Those were really my happiest times in childhood. I did well in school, and my grandmother had me involved in sports. It was my chance to have a really nice, normal life.
But when Ernie was released, a period of peace and stability for Sam ended. He returned home to live with his father and a string of different women.
What were your father's relationships like with women after he got out of jail?
Short and enmeshed and centered around drug use, sex. And they usually ended very quickly.
Sam told Detective Quinnell about a woman Ernie married after he got out of jail. Her name was Nina.
They had a fight one day. We were in the front of his pickup truck, and he started hitting her while he was driving, and she was unrecognizable. Her face was covered in blood.
Nina went to police and pressed charges against Ernie Christie. He was arrested. But his father was found not guilty by a jury. For Nina and many others, the verdict offered an ominous lesson. Standing up to Ernie Christie was risky business.
Ernie was arrested on this, and now he's out. And I would imagine that Ernie would probably just run with that. See, I'm untouchable. They can arrest me all they want to, but I always get out. And
so he used that?
I'm sure he did, because none of his victims would come forward.
They all seem to share one thing in common: an overwhelming fear of Ernie Christie.
I find it extraordinary that one man could have that sense of power over so many people.
You ever heard of Charlie Manson?
I have.
There you go. I think that was the million-dollar question with him. How can that one guy have that kind of control over all those people?
Did you think about beating your father up? You were pretty strong by this point. You were tall.
There was something that blocked me. It was so difficult to find not the courage to stand up to him, but the internal strength to overcome what I'd been conditioned to do. I'd been conditioned to obey.
I think it's very possible, living under those kind of conditions, that he develops sort of a learned helplessness, that even if he has opportunities to escape, that he's unable to do so.
According to Sam, he did as he was told, even if it meant turning a blind eye to his father beating women and holding them captive, like he had with Patty in the tree stump.
I wasn't the one holding her prisoner. I wasn't the one that beat her. I didn't know what the right decision to make was. I try not to feel guilty about my mistakes.
Why do you think your father let Patty go finally?
He didn't want to kill her. He didn't want to keep her there. He just didn't want to go to jail. And when he felt like she was healed enough that no one would believe her, then he felt safe to let her go.
Sam had seen a pattern of abuse. His father brought women home, beat them, held them captive, and eventually let them go. But there was someone who didn't fit the pattern: Sandy Turpin, the young woman who was still officially a missing person.
What was Sandy like?
She was small and cute, but she had kind of a tough attitude. I liked her.
For a good month, Sandy lived with you, and your father and Sandy got along fine.
Yeah, they were joking and laughing, and we would all sometimes go on shopping trips together.
According to Sam, things between Ernie and Sandy changed suddenly. The pattern of violence had begun again. The laughter had been replaced by the sounds of horrible abuse.
He kept her tied up in the bedroom, and Sam would say that he could hear his dad almost on a daily basis go into the bedroom and just beat the hell.
Coming up, the story Sam Christie was afraid to tell police for more than 20 years.
In all your years of law enforcement, have you ever heard anything sicker?
No. He mentioned that she was just in a bad way. You know, when I asked him, are you sure she was alive? And he said, yeah, she just sort of had a blank stare, and there wasn't, you know, a whole lot of movement, but he was convinced that she was still alive, tied to the chair.
Then, the fateful moment. Ernie Christie asked Sam to get the car. Sam says he was terrified, but followed his father's instructions.
What happened next?
He brought her outside. He had her wrapped up in a blanket, and he had me open the trunk, and he put her in the trunk, and he said, get out of the car, and I got out with him, and he had me grab tires and a can of gasoline and put them in the back seat.
Did you know what he planned for you to do?
I knew better than to ask why.
Sam said they drove up on an abandoned road and parked the car.
He had lifted her out of the trunk. He had me turn away, and I heard him strike a blow, and I heard her. She just kind of a low moan, and then there was nothing.
Sam believed his father had just struck a fatal blow. But the depravity of the attack was far from over.
He put her in a low ditch and had me put the tires on top of the blanket on top of her body. And then he dumped the gasoline on and lit everything on fire. And then he turned and looked at me, and he said, "Well, there's no way you're going to be able to keep this secret."
To that you said?
I didn't say anything. I wanted to convince him that I wasn't going to tell anybody. I wanted to convince him of whatever I needed to convince him of so that he wouldn't kill me.
Just hours later, Ernie told Sam to jump down into the ditch to make sure Sandy's remains had been destroyed.
In all your years of law enforcement, have you ever heard anything sicker than a father who had his son help him cover up his tracks and then force his son to go back to the grave site and make sure the job had been done correctly?
No. This is the one.
Sam told Detective Quinnell over the phone he spent the next year trying to convince his father he would keep Sandy's murder a secret. He was just a teenager, but Sam knew full well what the consequences would be for coming forward.
So I just felt I had to convince him that for me it never happened. Because he spent like the next year deciding whether or not to kill me. Jesus.
Well, I devoted all my energy to convincing him that I wasn't going to tell anybody. And it took some convincing. He made me sleep on the couch in the living room for a year after he killed Sandy. And he slept on another couch on the opposite end of the living room. About a month after she died, I remember waking up in the middle of the night. He had the lights on. And I turned around, and he was fully dressed, sitting on his couch with the rifle across his lap. And he said, "Go back to sleep. I'm still trying to decide what to do with you."
Despite repeated assurances to his father that he would never go to police about Sandy, Sam told Quinnell that his father's cruelty was relentless.
About a month after this gun incident in the living room, his dad took him down to his fishing boat at the docks there in Eureka and just decided to beat the hell out of him.
He had a knife, and he was hitting me in the head with the handle of the knife. I had blood all over me, and I became convinced that he was going to kill me that night.
Sam's description of his father's violent actions was stunning and seemed credible to the detective. But Ernie Christie was already dead. Detective Quinnell had to figure out what he should do about Sam and find out exactly what role he played in Sandy's murder.
So exactly what did Sam admit to doing when it came to Sandy's murder?
Well, he thought that she was dead after his dad had hit her over the head.
Did he share with you at all how he was feeling as all of this was happening?
He had more fear and concern that if he wasn't going to do what his dad told him to do, he would suffer. That was what was occupying his brain at the time, not that I'm assisting in getting rid of this human body.
Quinnell still needed confirmation that the story was true. So just like he had done with the stump where Patty had been held hostage, Sam sent him a map marking the location of Sandy's remains.
We're turning off onto Highway 299, and it's the property here on the left.
Quinnell made the 16-mile trek outside of Eureka with an evidence technician. to locate the ditch where Sam said Sandy's remains would be found.
The chances of us finding any human remains, we thought would be pretty slim.
It took almost 3 hours to locate the site, and they had to dig. But even after 22 years, what they found was startling.
Within this portion of the ditch, we were able to locate pieces of bone and teeth and clothing that was later positively identified as Sandy Turpin.
For Sandy's friends, the news wasn't surprising, but it was still heartbreaking.
When I read how she met her demise, I'm haunted in my dreams. I have dreams every night wanting to save her. I'm sneaking into the house and going, don't worry, I'm gonna get you out of here. It just sickens me what happened to her, because she didn't deserve it. She didn't deserve it.
Finding Sandy Turpin's remains buried in 2.5 feet of mud was the tragic end to a decades-old search. But Sam wasn't sure how his story was being received, nor what might happen to him now.
Did you sense in your first conversation with Detective Quinnell that he believed you?
No. I was fully prepared to be arrested and put on trial.
Coming up, after telling everything he knew about his father's crimes, what will prosecutors do to Sam Christie?
Was it sinking in on any level at all that you were an accomplice to murder? Want more on the case? Go to investigationdiscovery.com/PaulaZahn and view more exclusive interviews and behind-the-scenes video. Sam Christie had just confessed that his father, Ernie Christie, had murdered Sandy Turpin and that he helped him dispose of her body. Authorities found her remains with a map Sam had given them, but there was even more Sam hadn't shared with them.
Sam Christie was haunted by memories of Sandy.
What kind of guilt consumed you after Sandy Turpin was killed?
Oh, man. I thought about every day. I would think out scenarios of something I could have done a little differently, and I would just beat myself up for them. I felt like a coward, like I wasn't really a man.
Was it sinking in on any level at all that you were an accomplice to murder?
I didn't feel like an accomplice. If the whole world thought I was guilty of doing the wrong thing, no one could put more shame on me than I've put on myself all these years for failing Sandy.
Ultimately, prosecutors would decide what, if anything, Sam was responsible for in the eyes of the law.
Some people have great empathy for the situation Sam found himself in, and yet others are going to say, but wait a minute, he had so many chances to go to the authorities and stop his father.
That fear factor is what controlled him, even more than being a witness. This guy is a victim. You know, he was a 16-year-old victim. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that would Monday morning quarterback this, but, you know, I think they would have to put themselves in 16-year-old shoes that was so mentally and physically abused as Sam was, to be able to understand.
Do you think Sam Christie murdered Sandy Turpin?
No.
What then is his culpability?
None. Zero.
The Humboldt County District Attorney's Office agreed with the detective. Prosecutors decided not to charge Sam with any crimes. An event that had haunted him since he was a little boy. This one involved his mother. Sam's mother, Claire Louise, was only 18 when she met Ernie. Bob Novarino introduced them.
It looked like two people in love. Claire was a beautiful young girl. Ernie was a little bit different than everybody else. In a room full of alpha males, he was the alpha male.
Ernie and Claire were married, but 6 years later, she was lost at sea during a fishing trip with Ernie.
I've never really thought it was an accident. And most of my buddies and stuff, people that I know in Humboldt County, never did either.
Claire's sister had little doubt that Ernie was to blame.
I was quite distraught at the memorial service. And afterwards, I walked outside, and he was sitting in the car, and he looked at me, and he was laughing. And that was the moment in which I said, like, oh yeah, he killed her.
Based on everything you've learned, do you think he did kill your mother?
I think he did, yeah.
As Quinnell looked into Claire's case, a witness came forward. She told him that she had been kidnapped and tortured by Ernie, and also said Ernie had confessed to her that he did, in fact, kill his wife.
What do you think happened to Claire Louise?
That she was probably murdered by Ernie and her body was dumped in the ocean. That's my hunch, and I can't prove it.
The detective told Sam what he had learned about his father's confession.
It was pretty devastating. I was already thinking that he had killed her. But that really made me feel like it was true.
Developed as it did.
Sam told me there were some good things that came out of confronting his painful past. He met his long-lost sister, who had been given up for adoption at birth, and he feels he has become a better father to his own 4 children. I'm Paula Zahn. Join us next time when we're back on the case. They looked like the perfect family.
She was a wonderful mom. Her boys were everything to her.
She even opened her house to others in their time of need.
In a fit of charity, she said, "Come live with us."
Police uncovered a dangerous cast of characters.
Rocky, the drug dealer, Jennifer, the prostitute.
Their stories became the shocking background to a brutal crime and the hunt for a cold-blooded killer.
You could see the life's blood drain out of the guy.
Lies, family secrets, and the ultimate betrayal.
But she had been so generous to you, opened up her heart to you.
Extremely.
But you still didn't care.
I'm Paula Zahn, and tonight we're on the case in Penfield, New York, a small town just outside of Rochester. When a young mother was murdered in the middle of the night, investigators would discover a twisted tale of secret lives and unspeakable betrayal. Just after midnight on July 14th, 2003, a 911 call came in to the Monroe County Sheriff's Department.
My wife has been shot.
Is she conscious right now, sir?
No, she's not.
Is she breathing?
No.
Okay, are you able to go near her so we can do CPR, sir?
No, there's too much blood all over the place.
The caller was 45-year-old Kevin Bryant, an attorney in Rochester. He told the operator someone had just broken into his home and shot his wife, Tabitha, who had been downstairs sleeping on the pull-out couch.
Upstairs reading, and I heard some screaming, and then I heard some car took off.
He heard his wife scream, "Oh my God," heard a commotion, and got out of bed and went to the top of the stairs and looked down.
Kevin said he was worried about the safety of his 2 small children, who were asleep in their room. He said he waited at the top of the stairs for a minute to make sure the intruder was gone. Then he went to check on Tabitha.
He went downstairs, he found his wife covered in blood, felt to see if she still had a pulse, and immediately called 911.
When emergency crews arrived, they found Tabitha Bryant lying on top of the sofa bed. She had been shot, and there was nothing they could do. The 26-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene.
What kind of person was Tabitha?
She was just out there all the time. She had a huge heart, bubbly personality. She always happy, always wanting to do something for someone.
Tabitha, known to her loved ones as Tabby, had a passion for singing in her church's choir. She also was the mother of 2 young sons.
I think the happiest I ever saw her was when she had her kids. I mean, her boys were everything to her. And she loved
really
them.
loved being a mom?
Oh, yeah. She really loved being a mom. Between the boys and her singing, I think that's when you'd really see her sparkle.
When sheriff's investigators arrived at the scene, they officially classified Tabitha's death as a homicide. For the quiet, upscale town of Penfield, it was stunning news.
The neighbors were completely shocked that murder had happened in the neighborhood, that was possible in Penfield. The last time there had been a murder in Penfield was 1962.
As investigators examined Tabitha's body, they learned she had not only been shot, but had also been repeatedly stabbed in the neck.
There were gunshots, so Kevin had reported there were also stab wounds. So now we know we're looking for multiple weapons.
Investigators searched the home, but couldn't find any signs of either weapon. In fact, there seemed to be nothing out of the ordinary inside the house, with the exception of the room where Tabitha had been murdered. Investigators described that as a horror scene.
It was a pretty graphic scene. There was blood spatter on the walls. It was pretty obvious that she was the victim of a violent homicide.
The violence was so excessive that investigators believed it couldn't have been a burglary gone wrong or a random attack. They felt the attack on Tabitha Bryant looked personal.
When you see a graphic scene like that, it kind of gives you some indication as to the mindset of the suspect.
Can you speculate from the blood evidence whether a crime is a crime of passion or not?
More or less. If this was an up-close, highly personal type of a crime, I think it'd be very consistent with a crime of passion.
But who would want Tabitha dead? Police turned their attention to her husband, Kevin Bryant. Could he have shot, then stabbed his wife? Investigators thought that was possible, but there was a problem.
He didn't have any blood on him. He had a t-shirt on when I met him. He was wearing shorts.
Investigators didn't see any bruises on Kevin's arms or legs, and there had been no signs of a cleanup effort in the house. Police still had a lot of questions for Kevin and asked him to come down to the station. Kevin called his parents to come pick up his sons. Once downtown, investigators asked Kevin to go through the events of the night.
His story was pretty consistent. Basically, what he said was that he is an attorney. He works a lot. On this particular day, I believe it was a Sunday, that he went into the office for a few hours, did some work, and then came home.
Kevin told investigators that when he got home at 9 o'clock, Tabitha was asleep in bed with one of their sons. He woke her up and asked her if she was going to sleep downstairs. Kevin said sleeping separately had become part of their routine. He admitted to investigators that he and Tabitha were on the brink of divorce.
They had had marital issues. Tabitha had taken to sleeping in the downstairs den, which was made up to be a bedroom.
Kevin told investigators that after waking Tabitha up, he took out the trash, got in his car, and went out for coffee. When he came back, he saw Tabitha on the sofa, already sleeping. He said he then went upstairs to his bedroom to read a book.
At some point, he receives a strange phone call. Crazy phone call out of the blue. It's from somebody, he can't figure out who it is. He's asking him if I can help you, and eventually he hangs up.
The mysterious phone call stood out as the only unusual event leading up to Tabitha's murder. Could it have been related in any way? Kevin said he assumed it was a wrong number and went back to his book.
He said he was reading. A short time later, he heard 2 gunshots and then some yelling, and then a third gunshot, at which point he went downstairs and found Tabitha and then made the 911 call.
Kevin said he didn't see anything, but when investigators asked him if he had any idea who might have murdered Tabitha, he told them something that seemed like the first break in the case. He said Tabitha had not been faithful to him, and that just days earlier, she had ended an affair with another man.
Kevin had said that they were going to work on their marriage. Tabitha had also agreed that they were going to work on their marriage. They were going to attend a church retreat the weekend after she was murdered.
As police set out to find Tabitha's jilted lover, they wondered if the breakup could have been a motive for murder. Just hours after 26-year-old Tabitha Bryant was murdered in her own home, police got their first lead. Tabitha had been having an affair and had just broken it off. Would that be the key to solving her murder? As investigators questioned Tabitha's husband, Kevin, they learned the name of the man she had been having an affair with, Keith Cromwell.
It started out with once-a-week visits. It started to get more serious after a few months. I believe it was near Valentine's Day that Keith Cromwell told Tabitha he was starting to fall for her.
Kevin told police that when he found out about the affair, he confronted Tabitha and immediately drew up divorce papers. He said Tabitha promised to end things with Keith and would try to make their marriage work.
He had the divorce papers all filed. However, he had not served them on her. He was hoping she would take some counsel and maybe turn things around.
Kevin told investigators that Tabitha then called Keith and told him she couldn't see him anymore.
There was no doubt that a boyfriend in a marital situation is definitely a potential suspect in this case.
When investigators showed up at Keith's house, he appeared to be shocked by the news of Tabitha's murder.
He was very emotional about what had occurred when he found out that she was murdered, and it was pretty readily apparent from what those investigators told me that he cared about her.
Keith told investigators he hadn't seen Tabitha for a few days, and he had an alibi for the night of the murder that police were able to verify.
As things played out, based on his involvement, his cooperation, we never had any cause to believe that he was directly involved.
Keith Cromwell was officially cleared, but investigators still believe Tabitha's murder was not a random act of violence. They wanted to know more about her personal life, information Kevin Bryant began to share with them.
As we had discussed this private life that they had and all the intricacies of their marriage, he was pretty forthcoming. I mean, he really didn't hold a lot back.
Kevin told investigators that his family and Tabitha's had known each other for 50 years. The connection came through their church.
Kevin's father was very good friends with Tabitha's grandmother, and they both belonged to different branches of the Community of Christ Church, and they saw each other every summer.
Kevin knew Tabitha when she was born. He was in his 20s.
The large difference in their ages didn't prevent them from becoming good friends. Kevin said they remained close even after Tabitha married her high school sweetheart. And when that relationship fell apart, she turned to Kevin for help.
Kevin, being a lawyer, helped her expedite her divorce. I believe it was in 3 weeks. And quickly thereafter, a romance blossomed between the two of them.
Despite their 20-year age difference, Tabitha and Kevin got married.
It seemed like a good situation. They were both in the same church. That's always a good plus in a marriage, to have the same church, the same ideas.
Tabitha began working part-time at Kevin's law firm.
They were lovey-dovey. They had like little pet names. And they were very affectionate, very, very affectionate towards each other.
Kevin told investigators he and Tabitha were happy, but his hectic work schedule meant long hours at the office. And after their 2 children were born, things became strained.
Some of the marital problems centered around the fact that he worked more often than not. His wife was very upset with that, and she wanted to go out. She was a little younger than him. She wanted to go out and party. When he got home, he didn't want to do that.
Tabitha's mother had been worried from the start that the age difference would be a problem.
As a mom, I didn't feel it was the right step for her. Kevin was close to my age.
What did she share with you about her marriage to Kevin?
I knew they were having some problems. She never specified anything. I never asked.
The strained marriage was about to be stretched to the limit. Kevin said the turning point in their lives came when Tabitha got a phone call from her younger brother, Cyril Weinbrenner.
He was the half-brother of Tabitha Bryant. They had the same mother. And he and Tabitha did not grow up together.
When he got in touch with Tabitha, Cyril was in a bad way. Just a few months before, their youngest brother had died in a car accident. Cyril was devastated and suffered a mental breakdown. Do you think it was the loss of his brother that started the unraveling process for him emotionally?
Yeah, I do. I do. It was really, really hard for him. They were very close. And it was really hard for everybody. But I think especially for him. Because I think the last time they had talked, they had had words. And I think that just really ate at him.
Cyril claimed the trauma of losing his brother had led to amnesia, and that he started reaching out to people for help. That's when he called Tabitha.
He got his cell phone and he started calling numbers in his cell phone to see if anything would click and he'd remember anything. Well, he happened to call Tabby. And they chatted and chatted for about an hour, and he felt comfortable talking to her.
Tabitha, in a fit of charity, said, "Come live with us." And that's where the Bryant's life starts to go awry.
Investigators learned that Cyril had moved in with Tabitha and Kevin. Kevin even gave him a job in his office. How did Cyril's life change once he moved in with Tabby?
Kevin had him working in the law office with him. So he enjoyed that part, you know, and then, of course, the big house, the fancy restaurants. He saw a part of life that he wanted. And I think it really drew him in.
Kevin told investigators that everything seemed to be working out just fine, at least until the day a young woman named Cassidy Green walked into his office. Coming up, sex, drugs, and violence in the Bryant house.
She got him hooked on cocaine. That was how she got men to be dependent on her.
Was it a motive for murder? Police investigating Tabitha Bryant's murder were now hearing details about life in the Bryant home. Kevin told them things took a dramatic turn when a young woman named Cassidy entered their lives. Cassidy Green was a 21-year-old with a checkered past when she came through the doors of Kevin Bryant's law office. How did you first meet Kevin Bryant?
Me and my business partner were opening a escort service, and we needed a lawyer, so we were going through the yellow pages and found someone that we thought could handle what we wanted.
She said that she picked Kevin Bryant's name out of a phone book. and went to his office, and that's when Cassidy Green and Cyril Weinbrenner met for the first time.
It was a chance meeting that would have a profound effect on several lives. Kevin Bryant had found a job for his brother-in-law Cyril at his law firm. Kevin told investigators that Cyril was smitten the moment he met Cassidy.
She was small, petite, and pretty. Said he really liked her.
Not long after Cyril and Cassidy met, they became a couple.
What did you like about Cyril?
He was a complete gentleman. He was just the type of person that you would want to bring home to Mom. He was completely different from anybody I'd ever dated.
Investigators learned that after dating for 3 months, the two decided to live together, but didn't have enough money to get their own place.
In the interim, they wound up staying with Tabitha and Kevin.
Tabitha needed a babysitter, and Kevin needed another person in the office, and it was just, it would all work out.
How did you get along with Tabitha?
Wonderfully. Absolutely wonderfully. She was the best friend you could ever have.
Kevin told investigators it seemed like it would be a perfect arrangement. But it soon became clear to everyone that Cassidy had a dark secret. She was a cocaine addict.
It was just nonstop for me. I was always high. Always. If I was sober, people would ask me what was wrong.
It didn't take long before Cyril became a user too.
Cyril, would smoke some weed here and there, but with the cocaine, like, his first experience with that was with me. And it was a rough move.
One of the first things that happened when Cyril met Cassidy was she got him hooked on cocaine. That was how she got men to be dependent on her.
Cassidy admits that she drew Cyril into a drug culture that she knew all too well, that the two even started dealing cocaine.
She sold to friends. She and Cyril came to be a couple. She kind of brought him into the loop, and he became someone that doubled her business, tripled her business. He really expanded the operation.
Kevin said Tabitha was alarmed by her brother's drug use, especially with 2 young kids in the house. She confronted him. The situation in the Bryant house was spinning out of control, and just 1 month before she was murdered, things had become intolerable for Tabitha. She asked her brother to leave.
I know there was falling out of some sort, and then Cyril and Cassidy moved out.
Cyril and Cassidy got a place together nearby, but investigators knew they had to dig deeper into the chaos that caused them to leave the house.
We came to determine that, obviously, these are people that we need to talk to. We need to talk to Cassidy, we need to talk to Cyril.
A few days after Tabitha was killed, police went looking for Cyril Weinbrenner. But there was a problem.
Cyril was disappeared. He was gone in the wind. No clue where he was. And we couldn't find him.
And when Cyril didn't show up for Tabitha's funeral, his mother began to panic.
And there were no signs of him anywhere.
No. Nobody seemed to be able to find him.
Jenny's daughter had been murdered, and now her son was missing. Was it foul play? Could the 2 cases be connected? She turned to police for help.
She had basically wanted to file a missing person report, saying, my daughter was killed. I don't know where my son is, and I can't find him, and I'm worried.
Despite putting an all-points bulletin out for Cyril, police couldn't find him. But they had no trouble locating Cassidy Green. She was brought in for questioning.
She was pretty much just generic about the whole thing. Didn't know anything about anything. She couldn't really explain where Cyril went, why Cyril went. They had a vehicle that they both used. Where's the vehicle? I mean, there was a lot of unanswered questions that you should have answers to, and she just didn't have them.
Police got a tip that Cassidy knew more than she was letting on. They believed she could be the key to breaking the case. So they developed a sting operation. They would try to catch Cassidy dealing drugs. If it worked, they believed they could use it as leverage to force her to tell them what, if anything, she knew about Tabitha's murder.
We formulated a plan to make contact with Cassidy to see, A, if she was still selling drugs, and B, if she would sell to someone that we would put into place.
Police used an informant named Rocky, who had had previous drug dealings with Cassidy.
The plan was to employ Rocky and let him buy drugs from Cassidy.
The sting worked. Police caught Cassidy selling drugs to Rocky several times. She was arrested on felony drug charges.
Now she had these drug charges on her. She knew that she was in deep, and she really didn't have much choice as to provide information.
Coming up, the frantic moments leading up to Tabitha's murder.
It was crazy. He actually held a sword to my throat, and he finally is like, I gotta do this.
And police confront a suspect.
You can see the life's blood drain out of the guy.
Police believed Cassidy Green was the key to breaking the Tabitha Bryant murder case. A sting operation had caught Cassidy red-handed selling drugs to an informant. Now, with a felony charge hanging over her head, would investigators finally get her to reveal what she knew about Tabitha's murder? Cassidy Green knew she was in big trouble. She had just been arrested for selling cocaine. What she didn't know was that the drug deal was a setup, and the police had her exactly where they wanted.
They brought me in. It was all about the drugs at that point.
At what point did they ask you about Tabby's murder?
They had actually said that if I cooperated with answering their questions, they would drop my drug charges, and I would plead out to 5 years probation.
Cassidy agreed to the plea deal and started talking. Cyril Weinbrenner, Cassidy's boyfriend and Tabitha's brother, quickly became the focus of the interrogation.
She gave us information that Cyril and she had an arrangement and that she was involved. She knew that Cyril was involved.
It was a stunning development. Cassidy had admitted that both she and Cyril were involved in the cold-blooded murder of Tabitha Bryant, the woman who had so generously opened up her house to both of them. Police had already been suspicious of Cyril because Tabitha had kicked him out of her house shortly before she was killed, and after her murder, he had disappeared. Now Cassidy described her own dramatic dealings with Cyril on the night Tabitha was murdered. She said he was on a rampage and came after her with a vengeance.
We'd been fighting all day, and he ended up getting extremely physical. I was bruised pretty much from head to toe, like front ways and sideways. It was crazy. He actually held a sword to my throat, and he finally is like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this.
After attacking her, Cassidy told police Cyril forced her to get in the car and drive him to the Bryant home, determined to kill his sister.
Cyril says, I'll be back in a minute. So, okay. So he goes in the house. He comes back out maybe 2 minutes later, not even.
When Cyril emerged from the house, the horror of what had taken place inside was obvious. Cassidy said he was covered in blood.
I didn't hear any shots. The most sound was maybe like a champagne cork, but that could have been my car settling.
But you knew?
When he came back covered in blood. You know, like, I mean, when I say covered, he was covered. I don't think there was a speck of skin not covered. Like he took a bath and painted himself in it.
Cyril didn't tell Cassidy what had happened. He just ordered her to drive back to the trailer home where they had been living.
And we got to Mendon Ponds, and he threw the knife out the window, which I didn't know that he had on him until it was like right there in sight. And we got back to the house, and he went in the bathroom and cleaned up.
Cassidy told police by the time Cyril came back outside, he had put all his bloody clothes in a bag. he forced her to help him get rid of them.
The only thing I could think of was to take him to the places where I'd grown up. My dad had a lot of property, and if anything, you know, ever came of it, like, I would know where they were.
After the clothes were discarded, they stopped at a gas station for beer and cigarettes. Cassidy said that's when Cyril calmly described exactly what had happened. It's a moment she'll never forget.
He said he shot her 3 times. He's just drinking his beer, smoking a cigarette, talking about killing his sister. It was extremely hard to hear just the coldness in his voice.
Cassidy said that soon after confessing, Cyril took off, and that was the last she heard from him.
She gave us information that Cyril had decided to take their vehicle, I believe it's in Monte Carlo, and he was going to head south toward Pennsylvania.
To police, Cyril Weinbrenner was no longer a missing person. Now he was a fugitive from justice, wanted for the murder of his own sister. As the days passed, Jenny Weinbrenner continued mourning for her daughter Tabitha. But she was also worried about her son, who was still missing. Then she called police to report some good news.
I get this phone call from his mom that says, hey, this guy's good. He's here. He's alive and well, and this is where he is.
Jenny had no idea what Cassidy had revealed about Cyril's involvement in Tabitha's murder. She had just unknowingly given police the break they were hoping for.
After the funeral, we went back to Iowa. And when we got back to Iowa, we found out he had been trying to get a hold of me because he was coming in on a bus and coming to Iowa, and he wanted me to pick him up at the bus station.
Jenny was relieved to have her son safe at home. Investigator Paul Sienna was relieved to have the location of a suspected murderer. He headed to Iowa without telling Jenny her son was now a suspect in his sister's murder.
It was a very cautious and carefully planned trip. And the reason being is that now you've got a guy who is out there that's potentially involved in shooting and stabbing multiple times his own sister. So he's a pretty volatile person.
With the local police department backing them up, Sienna and his partner took Cyril into custody. Without revealing that he was a suspect, investigators began questioning Cyril about the murder of his sister. He said he knew nothing about the crime, but investigators had a plan to get the truth. During the questioning, Sienna pretended he got a page from police back in New York and excused himself from the room. When he continued, Sienna reported some stunning news from headquarters, making sure Cyril heard every word.
I said, you guys aren't going to believe this. Cassidy Green just got picked up for selling dope. She's calling right now saying she doesn't want to go down for these dope charges. She's in jail. She says she's got information about this case. You can see the life's blood drain out of the guy.
Cyril had taken the bait, and to Sienna, he looked crushed. As the interrogation continued, he confessed to everything Cassidy had told investigators and described in gruesome detail exactly how he killed his sister.
He explained how he went in there with the rifle. He shot her. She didn't die. He kind of panicked at that point and grabbed a kitchen knife because she was alive and screaming.
Investigators finally had a confession, but Cyril wasn't done. He had something else to reveal, and it was a bombshell. Coming up, the final shocking twist of a family tragedy.
They're having a conversation about it's got to happen. They have to get rid of her. She has to go.
Want more on the case? Go to investigationdiscovery.com/Paula Zahn and view more exclusive interviews and behind-the-scenes video. Cyril Weinbrenner had just confessed to murdering Tabitha Bryant, his own sister. And if that wasn't shocking enough, he was about to tell a story that would turn the case upside down. Cyril told investigators that his sister and brother-in-law had been living a lie. Kevin, he said, had carefully cultivated an image as an innocent church-going dad. But Cyril said he also had a dark side and had been living a secret life.
Kevin was apparently frequenting strip clubs. Eventually, that evolved into hiring prostitutes to come to his law office and provide services for him there.
The same law office where his wife Tabitha also worked part-time.
He would bring them to the office when she would go out for lunch, or when she wasn't working, he would have them in the office. And it was like, she knew it.
She was aware of it?
She knew it. She didn't, it was never like brought up and put like, why are you doing this? But she knew it.
Eventually, Tabitha turned away from Kevin and into the arms of another man for comfort and support, Keith Cromwell. Their romance developed into a serious relationship.
Tabitha had started introducing Keith to her children. He had been to their daycare. At one point, there was rumor that one of the children at the daycare said to Kevin when he came to pick the boys up, "Are you the boys' other daddy?" I think that probably was a breaking point for him.
According to Cyril, Kevin made it clear, even if his marriage was beyond repair, he would never give up his kids. So he came up with a plan to sabotage Tabitha's relationship with Keith and destroy her chances in any potential custody battle. There was an idea being floated that you would help plant drugs in Tabby's car so she would be arrested for drug possession.
So that it was so that she would be questioned on the drugs and Kevin could get custody of the kids. It was supposed to make it so Tabitha would stop seeing Keith.
Kevin abandoned that plot, but approached Cyril and Cassidy about a far more sinister idea.
Kevin was offering Cyril $5,000 to kill his sister, Kevin's wife, and I believe there was some promise of money after the murder when Tabitha Bryant's life insurance policy came through.
After Cyril's confession, he was arrested for the murder of Tabitha Bryant and extradited back to New York. But there was a problem. Cassidy Green, who was also arrested for murder, had never implicated Kevin in the plot. Still, it didn't take long for investigators to confirm Cyril's story. They discovered Kevin had approached others about murdering Tabitha.
We found all kinds of people who had conversation with Kevin about not only being solicited for weapons. We found, a number of people that basically corroborated, yeah, those conversations took place.
Kevin Bryant was arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit murder. Kevin denied any involvement. Family and friends were shocked.
I was very shocked. I just couldn't see someone like him do such a thing. He genuinely loved her. I couldn't fathom.
As prosecutors began to build a case, they went back to Cassidy.
She was either lying about details or leaving out significant information.
Even though police didn't believe Cassidy had been entirely honest with them, they decided to offer a deal.
We felt Cassie was involved, but if we were going to attempt to work with anyone, she seemed to be the logical person to at least explore that possibility with.
Prosecutors told Cassidy they would reduce her charge to manslaughter and drop drug trafficking charges that were still pending against her, but only if she told them everything. Cassidy took the deal, and this time she gave authorities a complete account of Tabitha's murder. She even told them about the gun Cyril used.
It was mine. My dad had given it to me. It was a .22 birdshot rifle, and You know, it was my 16th birthday present from my dad. We went hunting, and it was in the trunk of the car.
As Cassidy continued, the whole story came out. What were you thinking as you pulled the car up to Tabby's and Kevin's home and you saw Cyril get out? What did he look like?
Almost placid. Almost like there was just this utter calm about him.
And you never once turned to Cyril and said,
I never said
you
anything
can't
to
do
him.
this.
I never said anything to him.
But she had been so generous to you, so good to
Extremely.
you. Provided you a
Extremely.
home to live in.
Extremely.
Opened up her heart to you.
Extremely.
But you still didn't care.
I didn't even think about it. It wasn't even a second thought. It really wasn't.
And there was more. For the first time, Cassidy opened up about Kevin's involvement. She described a phone call where Kevin told her where he had left the money for killing Tabitha.
Kevin had said that the money would be on top of the filing cabinet by the door.
Using phone records, investigators were able to confirm her story. With Cassidy Green as their star witness, the prosecution began its case against Kevin Bryant on October 1st, 2004.
They said Kevin was the mastermind of this murder-for-hire scheme.
Witness after witness testified about Kevin's secret life and how he talked about wanting his wife dead.
It was an interesting list of witnesses. Rocky, the drug dealer, Jennifer Birch, the prostitute. Her boyfriend, Timothy Hill, came out in shackles. He was in jail for something else at the time. It just ran the gamut of people you wouldn't expect to be in court testifying.
When Cassidy took the stand, she told jurors she overheard a conversation between Cyril and Kevin about killing Tabitha.
Tabby and I were upstairs. Tabby was putting the kids down to bed. You know, I went up to see her, see the kids. And coming down the stairs, and they're having a conversation about it's gotta happen. They have to get rid of her. She has to go.
The final witness for the prosecution was supposed to be Cyril Weinbrenner, but at the last minute, he refused to testify. The defense started by arguing that Cyril and Cassidy had acted alone. They described them and all of the state's witnesses as liars.
The defense's technique was discrediting all the prosecution's witnesses and bringing up their criminal past, going through it page by page.
The defense zeroed in on the state's star witness, Cassidy Green.
Kevin's lawyer would constantly be having her read statements from what she said to the police and then comparing it to what she was saying now, and was just trying to prove that she was not trustworthy.
The defense ended its case by putting Kevin's minister on the stand as a character witness and reminding jurors that Kevin and Tabitha had been working through their marital problems. The case then went to the jury.
At the end of the trial, it didn't seem like there was concrete evidence that Kevin had done it, but there was also not concrete evidence that he hadn't.
After 4.5 hours of deliberation, the jury came back with a verdict. Kevin Bryant was guilty.
We felt he would be acquitted. No, we couldn't believe it.
Kevin was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Cassidy Green would plead guilty to manslaughter. She could be released from prison as early as 2016. Is there anything you'd like to say to the family of Tabby Bryant?
I would like to say to all the families involved that I'm really sorry I didn't stop it. I'm sorry I didn't leave. I'm sorry.
Cyril Weinbrenner would eventually plead guilty to murder as well. He received a life sentence. For his mother, Jenny, it was like losing another child. She still clings to the belief that her son couldn't have killed her daughter. A mother's love won't allow her to accept anything else.
I want people to understand he's not He's not as bad as they think he is. He's not. He's a good kid. He has a big heart. And I want people to know that. And I love them both.
How do you want Tabby to be remembered?
As a breath of fresh air, because she was. And she was a wonderful mom. She brought happiness and bubbles and life to everything and everyone around her.
Kevin Bryant suffered a heart attack in prison. He's appealing his conviction. While serving his sentence, Cyril Weinbrenner is trying to earn a college degree. And Cassidy Green got married behind bars and is now expecting a baby. I'm Paula Zahn. Join us next time when we're back on the case.